The air inside the house was thick and heavy, the kind of heat that clung to my skin and made every breath feel like a struggle. The ACSE had broken down earlier that afternoon, right when the summer sun was at its worst. I had tried everything adjusting. The thermostat pressing all the buttons, even flipping the circuit breaker. But nothing worked. The house felt like an oven, and sweat trickled down my back as I fanned myself with an old magazine. I had been alone for the past 3 days. My husband David was away on a work trip, something that had become more frequent. Lately, the house felt emptier with each passing day, but I had grown used to it. I told myself I enjoyed the peace. The quiet moments where I didn't have to worry about his schedules, his meetings, his distant presence even when he was home. But right now, all I wanted was for the AC to start working again. I had just poured myself a glass of cold water when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a brief second I considered not answering. But curiosity won. I opened the door and saw him standing there. Liam, my stepson's friend. Liam had always been around ever since. My stepson. Ryan brought him home from college a few years ago. He had always been polite, always flashing that easy smile that made him look younger than he was. But today something felt different. He wasn't just Ryan's friend today. He was a man standing in my doorway, his shirt damp with sweat, his muscular arms tan from the sun. "Hey, Mrs. Thompson," he greeted, his voice deep and smooth. "Ryan told me your AC is out. I'm good with these things. Thought I'd swing by and take a look for a moment." I hesitated. It wasn't that I didn't trust him, but something about having him in my house alone made me feel strangely nervous. But the heat was unbearable, and my discomfort with the situation didn't compare to the suffocating air pressing against my skin. "That's really nice of you, Liam," I said, stepping aside to let him in. I was just about to melt. He chuckled, his eyes scanning the living room. As he walked in, "Yeah, it's brutal out there. Let me grab my tools from the truck and I'll check the unit." I watched as he walked back outside, his broad shoulders flexing as he moved. I scolded myself for noticing. He was young, too young for me to even entertain such thoughts, but something about him, the confidence in his stride, the casual way he carried himself, made my stomach twist in a way I hadn't felt in years. I shook the thought away and grabbed a glass of water for him, telling myself I was just being a good host. When he returned, he had a toolbox in one hand, his shirt now discarded, revealing a lean toned torso covered in a light sheen of sweat. I cleared my throat and turned away. "The AC unit is in the back," I said, leading him through the hallway. As he worked, I sat nearby watching him with what I hoped was a casual expression. The room was still warm, but something else made the air feel thick. It was the way his arms flexed as he tightened the screw, the way he bit his lip in concentration. Completely unaware of how intensely masculine he looked in that moment, I hadn't felt this aware of someone in years. I tried to keep my thoughts in check. He's just a kid. I reminded myself, Ryan's friend. But at 50, I wasn't naive. I knew when a man noticed a woman, and there were moments, quick glances, the flicker of his gaze over my legs, the way he stood just a little closer than necessary, that made me wonder if Liam saw me not as Ryan's stepmother, but as a woman. I forced myself to speak to break the tension. "You're good at this?" I said, offering a small smile. "You ever thought about doing it professionally?" Liam glanced up, wiping the sweat off his brow. Just a hobby. Comes in handy, though." His eyes held mine for a beat longer than they should have, and my pulse quickened. I swallowed and looked away, pretending to focus on the ceiling fan well. I appreciated I was going crazy in this heat. He grinned, standing up and stretching in his body, all lean muscle and effortless. Confidence almost done. "Just need a few more minutes." I nodded, but my mouth had gone dry. I wasn't sure if it was because of the heat or the way Liam looked at me, like he was waiting for something, some signal, some invitation. I shouldn't feel this way. I was a married woman. I had a life, a home, responsibilities, but in that moment, none of that mattered. The only thing I could think about was the fact that for the first time in years, I felt seen. The H hummed back to life, a cool breeze sweeping through the room, but the heat between us, that wasn't going anywhere. Liam turned to me, that same playful smirk on his lips. "There you go. Mrs. Thompson, all fixed?" I let out a breath. I didn't know I was holding. "Thank you, Liam." His eyes lingered on me, dark and unreadable. Then he nodded and grabbed his tools. "I should go," he said. But he didn't move, not right away. And neither did I. Liam worked with quiet focus, his strong arms flexing with each movement. The dim afternoon light caught the sheen of sweat on his skin, making him look effortlessly rugged. I sat nearby, pretending to scroll through my phone, but my eyes kept drifting back to him. He moved with such ease, like he belonged in any space he stepped into. "So you always this handy?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. He chuckled, glancing at me with a teasing smirk. "What, you thought I was just a pretty face?" I laughed, shaking my head. "I just didn't know fixing ACs was part of your skill set." "Well, there's a lot you don't know about me, Mrs. Thompson," he said, his voice dipping just slightly. The way he looked at me, steady knowing, made my stomach tighten. I felt warmth rise to my cheeks and quickly looked away. "I'll have to take your word for it," I muttered, trying to ignore the way my heart pounded, a little too fast. But the tension was there now, thick and unspoken. Every time he moved closer, even just to grab a tool, I could feel the heat rolling off his body. It was ridiculous, really. I was 50. He was my stepson's friend. And yet there was something about the way his presence filled the space, confident, just slightly daring, that made me feel like I was standing at the edge of something dangerous, and maybe I didn't want to step back. Liam wiped his hands on a rag and stood up, stretching his arms as the AC finally hummed back to life. Cool air rushed through the room, but it didn't seem to help the warmth still lingering between us all. "Fixed," he said, flashing that easy grin. "Thank you," I murmured, suddenly feeling too aware of how quiet the house was. "Let me get you a cold drink." I walked to the kitchen and poured him a glass of iced tea. My hands feeling unsteady when I turned back, he was already standing closer than he needed to be. I handed him the glass, and as he reached for it, our fingers brushed. The touch was brief, but neither of us pulled away right away. My skin tingled where his hand had been, and for a moment, we just stood there holding the glass together, locked in something unspoken. Then, without warning, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into a dim, hazy darkness. The only sound was the distant hum of the AC and our steady breathing. I felt his eyes on me, heavy and unreadable. "You okay?" he asked, his voice quieter. Now I swallowed hard, nodding. Yeah, just wasn't expecting that. He took a slow step closer, his presence impossible to ignore. "Funny how things happen at the right time," he said, his tone laced with something that made my stomach twist. I should have moved away, should have said something to break the moment, but I didn't. My body felt rooted in place, my heart hammering as he leaned in just slightly, as if waiting for a sign. Did I pull away, or did I let myself fall into something I couldn't take back? The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. I could feel my pulse in my throat, could hear the unsteady rhythm of my own breathing. Liam hadn't moved away. If anything, he was closer now, his presence wrapping around me like something I couldn't escape, or maybe didn't want to. Then it happened, a pull too strong. Taurusist 1 second, we were just standing there, caught in something unspoken, and the next his hand was on my waist, his fingers warm against my skin. My breath hitched. And before I could think, before I could remind myself of all the reasons this was wrong, our lips met. The kiss washes heightened at first, as if we were both testing the fire, unsure if we'd burn. But then the hesitation melted away, replaced by something deeper. Something raw. His hands tightened around me, pulling me closer, and I let myself fall into the heat. The hunger, the need that had been building from the moment he walked through my door. The air between us was charged, every touch sending shivers down my spine. The world outside didn't matter, my age, my marriage, the consequences. Right now, all that existed was the way he pressed against me, the way our bodies fit together, like something inevitable outside. The storm raged, thunder rolling through the sky like a warning, like a promise. But inside, we had already crossed the line. There was no turning back. The moment our lips parted, reality crashed over me like a cold wave. My chest rose and fell in uneven breaths, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. What had I just done? I took a shaky step back, my body still humming from his touch, but my mind already spiraling. Liam's eyes stayed on me, dark and unreadable, a mix of satisfaction and something else, uncertainty, maybe even regret, or was that just my own guilt staring back at me? A sharp chime cut through. The thick silence, my phone, I reached for it with trembling fingers, and when I saw the message on the screen, my stomach twisted. David, flight landed, be home soon. Panic flickered through me. I had minutes, maybe an hour, before my husband walked through that door. My hands felt clammy as I turned to Liam, forcing my voice to stay steady. You should go, I said. Not meeting. His eyes, he didn't move right away. Instead, he took a step closer, his voice lower. Now careful. Is that what you really want? I swallowed hard. My body betraying me with the way it still acted for him, but my head screamed at me to end this. Now I forced a nod. Yes. Liam studied me for a moment, like he was waiting for me to change my mind. But when I didn't, he finally exhaled and grabbed his stools. Okay, he said, but there was something unfinished in his voice. Something that told me he didn't believe it was over. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving me alone in the silence. My body still burned, my lips still tingled, but deep in my chest, a new feeling settled in regret or something. Worse, the fear that I didn't regret. All Willem was gone, but the room still felt different, like his presence had left an invisible mark. I stood there for a moment, staring at the door. My heart still racing. I had to pull myself together. I had to forget this ever happened. I took a deep breath, pressing my fingers to my lips, as if that could erase the way he'd kissed me, the way my body had responded, like it had been waiting for something like this. But I couldn't let myself go down that road. I turned my attention to my phone, to the message from my husband. David would be home soon, and I needed to be the wife he expected me to be. I needed to push Liam out of my mind, lock this moment away somewhere, deep inside, somewhere I'd never touch again. But as I went about my evening, fixing my hair, setting the table, preparing for my husband's return, I felt the weight of it all settle in. No matter how much I told myself it was over, the memory of Liam's touch, his lips, his eyes holding mine like I was the only woman in the world, it stayed, and that terrified me more than anything.